Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start. We do have a few people online. So forgive me for the miscommunication or the way that I wrote the item out. What I meant was in class, we're going to talk about the assignment. That's what I meant. When I say like on ground, I'm generally talking about the day that we're going to be on ground. And so we'll discuss the assignment. There's been a holdup with the TAs, but I spoke with one of the TAs and he's actually going to provide his information. He's been approved. So Presley, his name Presley George, he will be posting his information in terms of when he's able to meet up, and then he'll share his Book Me site with you guys as well. So we'll get moving along with that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video regarding physical security. Everybody watch the video on physical security? What did we learn about physical security? What are your thoughts?
Often overlooked
Okay, why do you think physical security is overlooked?
because it doesn't really come to mind. Like when I don't know. I feel like when people start getting into the mind of computer security and network security, they don't think to actually defend the physical server rooms, stuff like that.
Agreed. Because if you have access to something, right? If it says you can't, you have your password protected. Okay, but if I have your computer, your computing device, it doesn't matter. I have all the time in the world to access your device. It may take me a year, 2 years, but I have it. It's gone unless you remotely wipe it. And most people aren't setting up controls like that.
Also, they like bypassing just through social engineering, like literally like walking up with a clip. I don't know. And like I remember learning about it in like another class, but like one of the simplest ways is people could just walk up with a clipboard and be let in.
Yeah,
Basically.
I mean it's it's interesting. I don't know how many students here, if any students had to take the TOEFL test. Anybody here have to take the TOEFL test? Right? They ask you for your ID card and you walk in, right?
Yes.
But they don't check if it's you, right? Like I see a guy, brown skin, lots of hair. You're like, all right, well, this must be Patel, and they let him in, right? That happens a lot of times. I remember back when I was going to school undergrad, we had a significant undergrad population from multiple countries, and people were making the joke or the assumption, like, yeah, they believe everyone looks alike. I'm like, oh, okay, well, and people would actually do that. There would be one guy who's like really good. He's acing these exams, and this is gain entry, English exams, and he or she, they would go in, they would take the exam with their ID card, get paid, and that person would start teaching as a grad student. My math teachers, undergrad, the running joke was like none of them, like they would be able to do the mathematical equations, but none of them could actually speak English properly. Like it was a struggle communicating with my math teachers. Like, okay, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z, and they were like, and they're just writing an equation. I'm like, oh Lord, this is not going to work. And there was no Google Translate back then. But none of these TAs they would be able to speak English. It was, and we all knew because everybody knew what people were doing from various countries. They would go in, show the card, someone would get paid to take the exam. They take the exam, and they'd be good to go. It was pretty bad. But that is a form of security. It's supposed to be a gate and check. Say, hey, I'm going to look at this ID card. I'm going to verify this is the particular person, and then this person can go. When online education really took off in the mid 2000s, there was a big scare because they're like, well, how are you going to verify that that person is doing the work? That person is doing the exam. And so hardcore proctoring came into place, right? So you would take a test, they would have a camera on you, you would show your ID card, and they would pay someone to actually watch you the entire time. It was a nightmare, right? The entire time someone's watching, you might as well be in the class, right? Almost because it was a designated time. So when you think about university campuses, right? How do you know that you're on the Illinois Tech campus? Is there anything in particular that lets you know that you're on the campus?
Security cars roaming around.
Okay. It's usually at night. But is there anything else that lets you know that you are at Illinois Tech?
Lines.
Okay. Is that enough?
So like designated spots. So
Okay.
Closest thing to a boundary is if you like by IIT Tower, there's the pillar thing.
Mhm.
I just treat that as kind of like as part of a. I'm not sure if it goes all the way around.
Okay. So one campus that I was at, University of North Alabama, right? You knew the campus, right? The entire campus like a castle. They had lion prints, I think, yeah, lion prints around the campus. So you knew that these streets were attached to the university. These school colors were everywhere, right? Even the signs, everything was saying that you're on a campus, right? They had shown the actual campus by colors, by incorporating actual design into the campus. Schools that are in urban areas are highly lit, right? So okay, this must be something, but there's something to identify that you are still on the university campus. Same with companies, right? You go to an organization, they will have signs out that says this is the we'll say Raytheon, right? Raytheon in Huntsville, Alabama, like you'll see Raytheon signs everywhere. The buildings will look the same. You'll see the same colors or whatever that branding is. It is everywhere, so you know that you are on that particular organization's campus, right? Or facility. So if you're walking down the street, you're like, oh, okay, I'm on Raytheon's campus. Oh, this is Lockheed's campus. It is very distinct. That is a form of physical security. So anybody that's coming on those particular grounds, they know that, oh, this belongs to this particular organization. And then they will have the assumption that it is protected. All right, what's another thing? Talked about security guards, right? Are security guards important? Okay, why are they important? Okay, intimidation. Are you sure? Do all security guards intimidate?
I mean, I don't know. Like usually when I see them, like, yeah, just watch out that you don't do anything suspicious looking.
Some security guards are just worried because you're like, if somebody starts shooting, they're not going to take a bullet for you to help you.
There are statistics that just seeing someone that looks like security and stuff can make some people not want to do crime stuff.
Okay.
I think there's like data from like police officers, and like there's a scarecrow like thing. There's a police station that used a scarecrow like at like an intersection. Even after people realized it was a scarecrow, people still were somewhat slow.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want that ticket, right? You slow down, you don't want that ticket, and it takes a while for you to realize. It's like when stores they have a lot of theft in the store, right? So there's dummy cameras. They set up these dummy cameras, these circular items that they have on the ceiling, and you think there's a camera there, but you don't know if there is, but you don't stay like, I'm not going to chance it, right? I'm not saying I stolen, but I'm just saying you just don't. You're like, I'm not going to chance there's a camera right there. And then after a while, after some people get away with it, like, oh, there's not really a camera there. People will proceed until someone gets caught. So that serves as a deterrence, right? A deterrence. The interesting part is, even with cameras, that can serve as a deterrence, but there's also a cost associated with all this stuff, right? Let's go back to guards, right? So guards can serve as a deterrence. However, in some instances, these guards will have degrees. They will go through a lot of clearance checks and stuff like that. It depends on the type of organization that you're in, but you may have to spend quite a bit of money to get the type of guard that you want. Now, one of the first jobs I had out of university, undergrad, was a security guard. I was a security guard. I wasn't the best. I didn't protect anybody. I'm okay with admitting that now. But I had just finished my undergrad, and I was interviewing at Coastal Corporation and British Aerospace Engineering. So I was like trying to figure out. So I worked as a security guard for less than a month. And during that time, there was a big scare in the organization because there was, I guess you would say, domestic terrorists, and we had bomb threat and a shooting threat in our Canadian site, in our site in Huntsville, Alabama, against blacks and Hispanics, right? Obviously I'm black, so I was like, okay, well, they have a scare. I had no gun. They're like, Mo, if something happens, you need to go face forward. I'm like, but I have no gun. Like, I'm not going to do that. But it was interesting to see how it was treated. And yeah, the physical security here is pretty bad, right? So security guards we were paid very low. It was Wackenhut Corporation. I don't know if they even exist today, but it was Wackenhut. So I'll just say their name. But we did our rounds. We would go around and we would like hit a button with a key, with a badge, and it would tell the people that we actually went and walked around. So a lot of times people would like walk around and then they would like sleep somewhere, but there was really no real security. Like if someone were to do something, it would have happened. Now, in other places where people were paid a whole lot more, these guards, they had uniforms, they had weapons, they were doing full checks. There is Andrews Air Force Base out in DC at the Defense Intelligence Agency, like their headquarters. When you go through there, you go through turnstiles, you go through full checks, you send your security clearance before you even get there, and even the guards will dress you down before you even get in there. Right? Very different. Very, very different. And so that's one of the things you got to think about security, because these salaries can change too. Like salaries of those type of guards, you're going to spend probably $100,000 easy, because these are probably ex-military. They have serious training. They've done FLETC, which is the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center out in Georgia. There's like FBI, FBI. Trying to think about the organization, but Secret Service and stuff like that. Like these agencies, these federal police agencies, they go through. These are pretty intensive people. Like that same guard is not going to be someone is going to be at like McDonald's around the corner from us, right? It's not going to be the same people. So an organization has to think about what type of cost do they want to put in place in terms of physical security. And then you have gates as well. Every gate is not built the same, right? So what were we supposed to build with the last administration? Do you remember? Anybody? The wall. All right. You forgot about the wall? Or did you not know? You know about the wall, right? Yeah, we were known for the wall.
Mexico was supposed to pay for the wall.
Yeah, well, the funny part is, for those that don't know, there were people on Mexican border, Mexican side, taking parts of the wall away. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Texas. I actually finished high school in Texas, and you can literally go over the border and across the border, and you can just see people. Sometimes, well, in those days, you can see people crossing and like checking to go back and forth with stuff. They didn't really check. Not in my day. They didn't check. Right. And I know because I was underage, and there were people taking lots of alcohol back from Mexico to Brownsville, Texas.
It's kind of funny because for my mom it was kind of a different experience. They had to make a run for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went through, this was 99, 2000. I went through Brownsville, right? So I was there on a church trip. It was like a bunch of churches and other organizations were there to build homes in Mexico. I can't remember the actual city, but it was right across the border. So I wasn't the best kid, obviously. So we were there, and then we were there getting tattoos and bringing alcohol across the border. And the check was just very like, oh, okay, do you guys have drugs? They were just concerned about cocaine and stuff, like, oh no, okay, but yeah, we have a huge duffel bag full of alcohol. Like, okay, just go across the border. Um, so the checks weren't that intense. It got intense later, when you had stuff with the cartel and with different administrations. But originally, these in certain places of the border, they're not as intense at all, because you got to realize, like when we go back to the wall, when you talk about the wall, one of the interesting things about the wall is parts of the U.S. go deep into Mexico. And you have the river, so you just can't build a wall. It's like, okay, where are you going to put a wall at? It makes no sense. And then it cuts off even Americans, their land as well. But that's not the most intensive wall in the world. The most intensive wall in the world exists where? Morocco. Okay, you said Morocco. Okay. Okay.
Used to be Berlin.
No, not DMZ. What'd you say?
Everest, that's natural landscape, could serve as a deterrent, I guess.
No, it's Morocco. And why do you think it exists in Morocco?
Tunisia?
No, Tunisia's a happy place. They just got like an uprising every now and then, a couple terrorists.
Got the whole occupation of
Yeah.
Western, well,
So
arguably.
on the African continent, it's part of Europe. So Spain has part of Spain is actually in Africa, right? Did anybody know that? You did? Okay. So let me see. And it's let's see place. It's the most difficult wall out there. So I'm gonna see if I can. Okay, let me change HDMI out real quick, and I will share the video, and then we'll chat about it. All right, let me see. That is not good. To sound.
Professor, I apologize for interrupting, but we can't hear you.
And let's see. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Okay,
Yeah, we
perfect.
can
Okay.
hear you now.
Okay, awesome. So I was telling the class that I have a few contacts that have actually snuck into Europe, if you want to say snuck, or walked in or boated in. And I can have someone speak. I just can't record it and place it on YouTube, but I can definitely have them have the discussion so you can understand that process, right? Because you think about the border here between the United States and Mexico. When you think about people who had to cross the entire Sahara and cross countries that have not only just gangs but extreme terrorism, right? This isn't like cartel terrorism. This is the cartel. This is like extreme terrorism going to the desert, going to a country where they may not speak the language. They have issues with the religion because in their country, maybe more likely the Muslim, they were probably terrorists or exterminating them, like in Central African Republic, northern Nigeria, Boko Haram. So it's very, very different. But you can see even there, like with physical security, like there's only so much they can do. They're limited. They have the wall, they have guards on both sides, all this bar, all this money spent, but they're still limited in what they can do to deter people from entering Europe. Right. Even with everything that happened in Libya, people were going through Libya. This is during Gaddafi time. Gaddafi would actually pretty much bust people, say, "Oh, you're going to Europe? Come on, we'll take you to the border." And there's Italy. Gaddafi fell. Then you had people that were enslaved that were going through Libya, and then people just now go through Tunisia. And it just happens to Tunisia. They're like, okay, well, there's Italy. What do you want? What do you want? I'm like, oh, I have a U.S. passport. I'm okay. I'm just want to chat with someone. I'm just curious to make some connections. But that is just an example of how you think about it's one layer of security, right? You have the deterrence. The deterrence isn't working. There's other things that would assist. Now, the other interesting part is when you think about setting up, I guess, a facility in a place that no people want to work or stuff like that, how do you go about things of a particular nature, right?
There's a company towns.
There's what?
Company towns.
Okay.
Like it's where this happened to it's a while ago when they were used, but basically like bigger factories and stuff would literally build towns around the factory, so that way the workers had a place to live and eat.
Oh yeah, and they don't leave. Okay, now I was thinking about what you're saying.
Yeah, with the whole Foxconn and all that.
Stuff like that.
Because you think about these areas that are high crime, they're just violent cities. These people still need services, right? Not you may not want to live there. You're like, I'm not living there, but they're like, hey, we need services. We need stuff as well. And companies are like, okay, well, we'll fulfill your needs. And they think about how to deliver those services. Right. Now, I'm not saying it's the best place to be, but a lot of times these places will pay premium dollar. During the Second Gulf War, were there not people working and living in Baghdad? All right. You weren't one of them, right? You wouldn't be interested.
I mean, no.
Really? Now, when you work in usually areas like this, it's usually like you get a high premium and stuff like that. But organizations will think about, okay, what do we need to set up? Right. All right. So you have that. The other thing they talked about in the facilities or physical was like fire extinguishers. Remember, there are different types of extinguishers for different electrical fires and stuff like that. So you have those items. Now I'm going to bring up the assignment that you're going to work in groups. There's actually 2 of them. I'm going to go through these assignments. All right. So I changed some things on Blackboard. All right, so what you'll see here, let's make this a little bigger. I've added all the assignments that are groups, and you'll just go in here and you'll create your groups and see how many students should be in the group. You'll go in here and put your information. Hey, I'm Joe Blow. and create a thread and put your information, you can create your group, right? So this right here is done. Then if we look at the assignments. All right, setting up a facility in a high risk city. All right, so in this assignment, you will undertake the role of strategic planner tasked with selecting and establishing a facility in one of the world's top 50 dangerous cities. The objective is to critically analyze the security challenges and develop a comprehensive plan to secure a successful establishment. Through this assignment, you will demonstrate your ability to assess risk factors, formulate mitigation strategies, and make informed decisions in complex environments. The city selection, you'll look at the list of the 50 most dangerous cities. Guys, is this beautiful city in the top 50 world dangerous cities?
I highly doubt it.
Why is that?
For the entire world.
I mean, even though we have our title Chirac and we've coined that, like, you sure we're not top 50?
Not 50 in the world, no.
Really? What about top 100?
Probably still not.
We're not. All right, but I think Detroit's up here. Well, St. Louis is up here, definitely. Detroit, Baltimore, maybe San Juan. Those cities are up there, but not this beautiful city. All right, so you'll choose one of the world's top 50 dangerous cities, and then you'll talk about why you chose that. And so everything is here: security assessment, mitigation strategy, stakeholder engagement, cultural sensitivity. So, sorry?
SF is in top.
Sorry?
San Francisco in top 50 cities. Most dangerous city.
Really? What are you looking at? Like safest cities?
No, what's it as well? Dangerous.
I'll send out a link after this. Like that can be a right link.
Don't they have all that shopping?
No. If you look at these cities and you look at the crime, you'll be like, okay, now I see we're at top 50. Cultural sensitivity. This is important because some of these cities are in the African continent, right? What are the biggest things that happen in the African continent? Colonialism. Okay. And who was the biggest person? What is one of the most spoken colonized? Well, that sounds bad. Okay. European language. I was going to say colonizer language, but European language.
The French or
The French, yeah.
French.
The Spanish is like one country in Africa that speaks Spanish and one country that still speaks German, but the French. So in some places, some countries, they do not want a French person there working or leading, right? It's an issue, right? Even there was a job years ago that they were doing joint tactical radio system, jitters, and they didn't want a person that was a white male that spoke French. They're like, do not give them to us. Mali, you still have those issues because of what the French did and the continent. Right. So it's an issue, right? So when you set up a facility, you like, oh, I'm going to set up a facility in this area and I'm going to hire a demographic that these people don't like. Right. It's already going to be difficult being in this dangerous area. So now you have to make sure that you understand the culture there. And the culture can also be religious. Right. Sudan. I'll give an example. Sudan, they had a teacher there. She drew the prophet and ended up having to deal with lashings. She got lashed. Like, I joke and say Sudan is like Saudi with no money. Well, they have money, but people don't get the money. So, these are things to think about when you're doing stuff in other countries. Their laws, they're just being culturally aware so you don't place yourself in danger, right? All right, so you'll have this assignment. So you'll break up into groups and you'll keep the same groups for both assignments. And then you have this other assignment. And it's dealing with biometrics and drones and modern technology. So you're going to explore the applications, benefits, challenges, and ethical considerations associated with each technology. By examining these innovations, you will gain insights into their potential impacts on various industries, aspects of society. This assignment aims to develop your critical thinking skills and your ability to analyze the multifaceted nature of emerging technologies. So here we talk about biometrics, drones. You do a comparative analysis and then future implications. And then here's the rubric. This is the rubric that I'll be going by. And so you'll be doing this. And then for those working a network assignment, please just hold off on that. Do not scan the network. I will give you a slew of places that you can scan. That it's okay. I'll give you targets that you can actually look up and not end up behind jail. So I will provide all that stuff. Sorry. Yeah, I pushed it off. It's pushed back.
Oh.
It's pushed back. So don't worry about that. I pushed that back. And then we'll have another group meeting this Sunday. So I'll set something up in the evening. So we'll do another group discussion, lab discussion. Think about some things that you want to talk about. I think I only have like 5 people present. But if you come there with like problems or questions, you're like, hey, I want to learn how to do X, Y, and Z. I will do X, Y, and Z. If I can, but if I can't do X, Y, and Z on record it, then I'll pause the recording, show you. That means only people there will actually see what I do. All right. So you can break up into your groups. Make sure you post your items on the discussion board, and then while you're going through this, feel free to ask me questions. And then I'm going to send out a link of the world's top dangerous cities. Because San Francisco is definitely not one of them. Because you're going to look at the top dangerous cities by murder rate.
Oh, murders are per capita.
It's per capita.
But does it count other?
Huh?
Does it count other crime? It's just murder.
I mean, that's where it's dangerous. I mean, who cares if someone steals from you? Like, someone steals your life. I mean, that's it. No one wants to be shot or stabbed.
So the group assignments are still due by September 22nd.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to do. And feel free to make friends with new people.
Oh my god. I have no idea. I think I know another Kevin. Kevin someone. I'll figure out who Kevin is. Yeah, that's how much after class? How far?
I'm fine with right now, but if you have something.
Oh, right now I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah,
After class, does class end right now?
No, it ends at 4:30.
4:30. That's good enough. I was gonna say I have a physics lab that starts at around 5-ish. So
we can start work on that. And then, meet up after the physics lab.
Do you know how flexible? Yeah,
yes, I did not get
right.
I typed it in and it said.
All right, so people, I have a list up, and this seems realistic. There's no San Francisco here. Sad. Yeah, there's no.
Really?
Oh Lord. All right, this is a beautiful city, but it's full of crime. But it's a beautiful city, people.
Okay, I feel like I'm most certain this.
What'd you say? Say something?
Oh my goodness, that's where the arc is. Arch.
Huh? It is.
There's
There's a place near there called Shady Park. Yeah, well, people get stabbed and shot there.
Very appropriate.
I know.
What's number 1?
Oh, where's the?
Second, north, south, where is that?
Huh?
Mexico.
I don't know. I know Tijuana.
Group assignments moved. Okay. Yeah, so our next assignment's the.
It's South Mexico. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so that's where I'm from.
Huh.
I was in this.
Oh.
So our next assignment's next week, right?
Yes,
So it got moved 1 week.
correct.
Okay, got it. That's very.
Yeah, because I want to walk everybody through like Miltego and stuff like that. So I don't know why that was put up to like that, but it's fixed. But if you haven't been here,
Since we have more time, we could probably just meet up quickly and then like get some basics done. We actually have like another week now. The original worry was I was like, like meet up and then do.
And the funny part is, I was actually just in the city, last weekend for a family reunion. Oh, it's dangerous. Huh? Oh, yeah, it's, all right, those online, you guys have any questions? And I think it's only
I
Bilal.
think what we should do is,
Yeah, it's just me.
I also messaged my friend on this.
All right, what's your question, bud?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, well, I will see you on Sunday, all right?
We have an email address.
That sounds good. You have a good rest of your day.
All right.
That's
Adios, guys.
As soon as I was like, this email does not exist, I'm like,